Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our esteemed audience and esteemed panelists. Welcome to Halal in Travel Global Summit hosted by Crescent Ratings. My name is Rushdie Siddiqui. I am a co-founder and chairman of World Waqf Day, which we recently launched, and co-founder CEO of iPortal, which is a global digital platform from the Islamic economy. Today's topic is on an area that is extremely important to all of us, which is climate change and its antidote sustainability. And the topic today is sustainable and ethical tourism in the post-COVID-19 travel. The format is the following. I'll introduce our speakers by name shortly, and they will tell us a little bit about themselves, and then for 2 to 3 minutes, they will share with us their thoughts on this particular session. Then I've got some questions for them. The audience is encouraged to write down their questions in the chat box, or for those who view it later, to email. Rest assured, you will get a response. And then conclude with a 1 to 2 minute remarks on the road ahead with respect to tourism and addressing the challenges as it moves from mass tourism to responsible tourism. The objectives here are following: that no one sector, company, industry, economy, or government can escape climate change and its impact. It respects no barriers or borders, cultures or faiths, rich or poor. Tourism has a carbon footprint, and it's acknowledging the key issues, what we're going to do about it. What is pushing sustainable, ethical tourism? What countries are leading it? And who's defining what is sustainable tourism? And what is the role of the traveler? Finally, with respect to the Muslim lifestyle, halal travel, or Muslim-friendly travel, what is being done in this particular space? So we've got a lot to unpack here, and so let's get started with our important speakers. We've got two speakers. Both of them are well known in their subject matters. The first one is Brother Fazl Bahardeen, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for more than 12, 13 years, and we've done a lot of good things together. And the other gentleman who had the pleasure to meet for the very first time, Mr. Iftikhar Hamdani. He has an incredible bio which resonates with me and people like me. He has led the green initiatives in the tourism industry. That's as much as I'll say about them, and I will turn it over to these gentlemen to properly introduce themselves. So, Brother Iftikhar, if you can kindly lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Rushdie. Thank you very much. Sustainability is my passion. I think about 10 years back, green was a color for me, but then it turned from green color to really something different, which was actually a sustainability. And how I realized that I converted actually the non-profit hotel into a profit. So as a matter of fact, I realized that this green or sustainability is a commercial benefit actually, if someone really understands. So all the waste in my hotel turned into profit. Like for example, the waste collection was about 150,000 dirham, per annum. And then when I started diverting this 90% waste from landfill by introducing compost machine in my hotel and a nice urban farm, I was not paying anymore, this amount, because all the waste from the kitchen was converting into compost, as a fertilizer. And you cannot imagine that when I started this journey, when we started good thing, people follow. And then by getting, PR in different publication, there was a flood of, the hotel general managers. They came, they visit, and they adopted. And now more than 50, 60 properties they're following. And thank you for taking, in halal tourism. I think being a Muslim, this is our responsibility, that you can see plenty of hadith by Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he has mentioned about the care of our planet, So I think all of us, we are the Khalifas and we are the ambassador, that it is a responsibility that we need to do a business, but that business has to be really very clean and very responsible. So being a Muslim, I think responsibility fall on all of us. whatever business we are, whatever destination we are, I think we need to take this flag. And that is the reason that I took this flag for last 10 years. I defeated the not only in awards hotels, but even as in a government entities also who came in my competition. And along with my team, I took everyone as an green. And this journey is started not only on commercial level on money, but I created a human sustainability that a 65% turnover staff, they were leaving from the hotel. And then when we started this journey, we had only 2% turnover staff. So the sustainability was not only on commercial level, but even it went on to human sustainability, where we have reduced the turnover staff. And not only this, we had actually one hotel to another hotel, another hotel. So growth started actually, because when you have really, passionate team and everybody was a green team. So the journey started from non-profit property into a really profitable properties. So that's what is a message from my side to all the people in our hospitality industry, that we should take as a responsibility, but definitely there is a commercial benefit out of it also.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for that landscape color, green color on it. Brother Fazil, just a brief overview. Many in the world know you because they attribute your studies as part of their research or as part of their PR. So if you could share with us your thoughts on not only this session, but how this session fits into the whole global summit.
Yeah, no, I think I'm pretty impressed with Iftikhar's explanations. We just do the talking and he's doing the actual walking of it. So I think where we come is, and we keep saying that. And first of all, I think we have seen the last few years that there is more and more, let's say, awareness among the travelers on, yes, we need to, we need to be community conscious, we need to be environmentally conscious, we need to give back to the community. I think these kind of things are getting more and more aware, especially when it comes to the younger travelers. And of course, overall, the idea of sustainable travel, community conscious travel was starting to pick up. Of course, it got disrupted during the pandemic. But I think what travel industry, especially when it comes to the Muslim travelers, I think they have an easy, low-hanging fruit when it comes to sustainability and environmental consciousness and all that, as Iftikhar was saying, because you can really, because Muslims, all faiths teach that, but when it comes to Muslims, it's much more, probably it's much more evident in them that you are supposed to take care of your environment. You are not supposed to waste water. You are not supposed to waste things. Wastage is a problem. So I think these kind of things are built into the Muslim psyche. It's about how do you tap into this. When I used to walk into hotels and I see the 25 lights in the hotel room lit for nothing, if you educate the Muslim guest, he will put off everything, because it's his accountability is not for what he's paying or not paying. His accountability is for to the creator. So I think it's when it comes to environmental issues, sustainability issues, community consciousness, giving back to the community, these are all very much part of the faith itself. So I think there's a huge opportunity for those who want to tap into this market. Muslim market probably is a low-hanging fruit. If you really give them the opportunity to get involved, embrace these ideas and contribute wherever they go, I think it is definitely possible.
Wonderful. Basically, we're speaking the same things from a stewardship point of view and a sustainability point of view. Both drive towards the same objective, which is basically the planet, the people, and prosperity. And this is a viable path. So the first question is premised on a quote from a research house called Skift, and they did a study that talked about how deep is tourism's carbon footprint. So, Brother Iftikhar, this is more towards you. In 2019, tourism contributed about 11% of global greenhouse emissions. There are growing pressures on the tourism industry to reduce this. However, to date, no standard guideline exists for countries to report emissions from tourism, and focus has only been on measuring the economic impact of tourism. So the question to you is this. In the new normal, even before COVID-19 pandemic, there was early talks and movements away from mass tourism to responsible tourism. Sustainable, ethical tourism, we can interchange the words, as the way forward. So 2 points. What are the drivers for this movement? And second is, what countries are leading it?
Thank you, Rushdie. I think that the sustainability part, the countries who are really leading. I mean, you can see because I'm also a very frequent traveler, especially during summer when we have a heat in Middle East. We always flee, and that is the time, when we are traveling. I feel that with that traveling also, we are also, contributing actually carbon emission, because we are a part of that aeroplane and then going from one country to another country. But that this can be not stop at all, but then the best thing is that how we can offset actually with our actions. Like, for example, you are taking an action which is really destroying, but there are 100 of ways that you can go back and you can clean your sin. For me, actually, it's a sin that every morning when we wake up and we contribute actually many things in our planet which are really wrong. But if you go back and then you just think about that your contribution, which was really not good for the planet, and how you can offset. And that is possible, that you can do on destination level, you can do on a company level, you can do on individual level also. And that's what I learned actually by being in a hotel, that how we have diverted, for example, the carbon emission by deviating that waste which was going to the landfill, by taking small actions, which build a team also, and then everybody has contributed. Similarly, on destination level, as in a tourism head, each person has to take part, because this is our planet, Rushdi. It's not only individual responsibility for you or maybe for Fazal. It is a responsibility of each person, that how we can educate our children to contribute from families, how we can contribute when we are coming into the work, and then to take our colleagues also into the same way. Same ways goes to the government also. I can just give you a simple example of one Prime Minister, Imran Khan, how he has started this billion tree campaign in Pakistan. And can you imagine that the country like Pakistan was leading Environment Day on 5th of June, and he was the host country. And nobody would have believed actually a few years back a country can lead actually on this level, that he was leading actually in United Nations on Environment Day because of the actions. This is the time that really we need to come forward and we need to take action. I personally traveled to the Scandinavian countries. Rishi, you cannot imagine. I was really, I was really into sustainability, but when I went over there and I had the cash in hand, but nobody was willing to take cash. Even I have taken like one bottle of water card. So, nobody was accepting actually as cash currency. I went to Germany and I have seen that, that the plastic bottles, you can just give back these plastic bottles actually to the same supermarket, and there are a machine outside, and it's instant. As Mr. Fazal was mentioning, it's a action actually, that it's not only words. It has to come as an practically, way. So you buy the plastic bottle, but then you go back and you're getting cash instant. So those are the actions which I have seen actually in Finland, I have seen in Germany, I have seen in Scandinavian countries, and those are the countries who are really leading. And I think that good things should be copies. If, for example, these countries are leading, why we cannot copy them? And for example, as you mentioned that, okay, we are contributing a lot of carbon emission being in Saudi Arabia or all Middle East country, in Bahrain, and because weather is harsh, we cannot live without AC. But there are 100 of other ways where we can really offset by taking responsible way.
That's fantastic. If I can paraphrase, basically, within Islam, we have a concept called purification, and your putting it in a certain context of offsets is actually purification of a sin. And I think if seen in that light, it will resonate with a lot of people who understand. So thank you. That's a wonderful way of putting it in context. So Brother Fazal, you've done studies of so many Muslim majority countries and non-Muslim countries with respect to friendliness for Muslim travel. As you look forward towards introducing another ingredient in your surveys and studies and research reports, how receptive do you think the non-Muslim countries will be with respect to understanding the tourism footprint, and are they interested in doing something about this? Or, you've got the mosque and you've got the hotels and you've got the signs in the hotel room, which where Qibla is, and that's enough.
No, I think it's a different discussion. I think the pandemic has reset a lot of thinking by the destinations. I think they are definitely looking at different type of tourism. I mean, simply there won't be mass tourism at least for 2-3 years. I mean, even if you want mass tourism, it won't happen, right? So this is probably the best opportunity to try out what we call, more customized, more personalized experiential tourism, right? So that this is an opportunity for many destinations to look at tourism in that way, because they're forced to. I think that's what they are doing. They will do. I mean, we are looking at. Although I'm a little bit concerned. We are talking about saying we want authentic experience. So let's go to the countryside. I mean, we don't want tourists going to the countryside and disturbing the countryside as well. So I think there is that trend. Of course, we want smaller groups, smaller individual experiences. So I think that has to happen because of the situation. But just going back pre-pandemic, we actually launched the survey already in 2019 on what we call ethical and responsible tourism. And we launched the survey. We had, I think, more than 500 or close to 500 respondents. But by the time we were sort of looking at doing the report, pandemic broke out, so we just didn't do it. And probably maybe next year or something we'll get back to it. But I just saw some of the answers to some of the questions. One question was, what impacts your decision making in your travels, and select all that applies was the question. And I just picked up the two or three the three top answers. The first one was local practices. So these are what are the local social norms, acts, courtesy and all that. That's a decision making factor. But the second factor was ethical practices of attraction and businesses. This was, of course, in 2019 we are talking about. The third one was environmental impact of attractions and businesses. So I think what this shows is that there is definitely this growing tendency, at least what we can see, of course, from the Muslim travelers, to start looking at that. So I think with that being said, with now the forced situation of destinations to look at more smaller groups, smaller individual experiences, I think that's an opportunity. I think that's what most destinations are talking about, because that's what they can do now anyway.
Okay, thank you. You've got to try, and then once you try, wonderful things happen. Brother Iftikhar, it's wonderful to speak to you because you've got so much experience underneath your belt. One of the challenges in the space is food mileage, right? And flip side of that is localization. Wherever hotels and resorts are, they want to reduce their food mileage from their suppliers, and at the same time that would benefit the local vendors. How are you engaging in reducing the food mileage of food to your resorts?
Being in Middle East, and if you are like, for example, consider Pakistan or Malaysia, for example, those countries, it's totally different than being here, because over here we are getting everything from abroad, because of the weather, because of the different soil. So we are unable to source, especially the agriculture part, because which is a major source actually. Even for example, if you have the cattle farms and all those are like in those countries are different than us. So we are actually heavily depending actually on import actually compared to rest of the world. But I think that it is really very important that even being in your place also, like for example, now I'm heavily depending on the local farms, especially in Al-Ain, the vegetables, which we are buying actually from there. We have actually a system, a committee, a purchase committee with the head of department, where they are engaged actually to make sure that we have to give priority on localization. So all the things which are really available over here, we have to take priority. And I do appreciate actually Ajman as an tourism board, that they have a committee and they're working keenly with the hotels, where we have actually a fortnightly meeting, and then we are even getting fish from the farm level, even the vegetable on locally, even the companies which are based in Ajman, we are heavily, I mean, depending over there. So it's really very much possible that each destination or country level, if you go and you can do a lot of carbon emission, can be really reduced by taking this small. These are small things actually, Rushdie. It's a really small. It's not really big. A small effort, and you can turn a big number. Which initially you mentioned that the countries are really not announcing, but as a matter of fact, actually on destination level, if we can take really committees and we can take stakeholders, within the hotels, within the tourism board, it is very much possible that with this localization, you can bring a lot of carbon emission down.
Okay. Just a follow-up question to you, Brother Iftikhar. So in the startup space, in the agri-tech space, it's in the UAE, you've got vertical farms and hydroponic farming. And obviously they're looking for customers as a way to prove that they've got a viable product. Are you engaging with such startups involved, say, in hydroponic farming? Obviously, you need volume because of the size of you. But if you could share with us conversations at whatever stage you have with startups involved in the agri-tech space within the UAE.
I think there is a lot of opportunity in this area. I do understand and agree with you, Rushdie, that our demand is really very high when you're working. So somehow that I hate it when people really do things only on PR level, and most of the areas which is consumption is not really able, but still we do actually for the certification level basis, or maybe like only for the news basis. But in practically, I think that it is very difficult to cope with the demand. Actually, it's not really, I mean, there. But still, on some part, I think it's really good to cover actually your demand, because especially when hydroponics, you cannot get everything. It's like only, I mean, certain kind of things which you use, especially on salad basis. So still, it is really good, and I am working actually with one company. And you hit on the right time actually, that I'm already working, and very soon I have started and engaging my kitchen team also, and we are starting our kitchen actually locally from Jabal Ali in Dubai.
Absolutely wonderful. I mean, this is exciting because you're having a multiplier effect as a buyer. So that's wonderful. So thank you, and please continue the great work. Brother Fazl, if I can sort of shift the conversation towards the consumer. At the beginning, you talked about, the consumer, if it demands and is exposed to good practices on being sustainable, and that will obviously result in behavior modification. So for us in the Muslim lifestyle space, the halal travel space, whose responsibility is it to educate the customer so they are more enlightened in being more sustainable? Is it the destination operator? Is it Crescent Ratings? Is it Brother Iftikhar?
I think all of us are responsible to educate each other, but I think we definitely want to champion this in terms of education. I mean, we have a platform, consumer platform, Halal Trip, and we try our best to look at these things. I mean, even internally, as a company, we have certain we focus on well, three things. One is our company, ourselves, and community. That's our a growth triangle that we have internally. So, giving back to the community in whatever we can. So we have a project, quarterly project that we identify and see how we can engage with the community. But I think at the end of the day, the key for to the success of what Iftikhar is doing, at the end of the day, it's about consumer demand, right? So we need to change the consumer behavior, and as I keep saying, changing Muslim consumer behavior on these topics is probably very doable if we continue to push that education. So I think there are a lot of discussions going around. Good thing is that a lot of discussion going on in the scholarly circles as well. There are now scholars who are talking about these initiatives. We as travel platforms, we should do that as well, because I'm talking about the Muslim consumers here. The general destinations may not be fully aware of our practices, so you can't expect them to try and educate Muslims on this one. I mean, they can talk generally, but I think it's about the Muslims to sort of educate the Muslim consumers, and we are trying to do our part. I think we should try and encourage all platforms to try and keep educating the Muslim consumers, especially Muslim travelers.
I mean, whatever you can do, you are doing, and so that's wonderful. Last question, and then if you could also tie in the response to your closing statements, because we have 5 minutes left. Brother Iftikhar, obviously more hotels, resorts, bed and breakfasts want to be sustainable because they want to be on the right side of history. But the COVID has impacted a lot of these places. So the commitment to sustainability requires resources, and the COVID has hurt their budgets, so on and so forth. So how do we position the conversation that you may have very little resources right now, but this is an investment in your future if you start making a commitment to sustainability with respect to your operations?
Very good question. I think for good things, I think all the times are good time. But at this moment, our industry was hit a lot. I mean, COVID has impacted many businesses, but this is true. That the way, I mean, we are hit in hotel hospitality, in overall tourism as a destination. We never had such kind of era in the history. So it's really very bad time. But on another note, on a separate note, I had actually today a meeting with one Russian technology on energy conservation. And you cannot imagine that there are plenty of options where, I mean, like, for example, I'm buying bottles, plastic bottles, and one of the company is giving me option where in less than 2 or 3 months time, I will be able to get return. I have opportunity to get the RO plant, which I will be getting benefit in normal consumption of water by introducing that RO plant, and I will be spending less actually. But I'm buying water from outside now. So these kind of steps only you need to really dedicate yourself that which are the things which really are capex, which are the huge amount which you cannot, but there are 100 of ways where you can start. Like, for example, I'm giving you a simple example that yesterday I had one event where we said that, okay, all of us, we will take all our extra clothes and extra things out of closet, and let us have this event, and then we can swipe and shop. So that you cannot imagine more than 1,300 clothes and different items came out of the closet, and we swapped within the team. So I took a tie from someone else. Another one has took my jacket, which I'm not wearing. So these kind of steps don't need really, money. So we need to really think, that start something from small and to go to the big. We need to build team and then to change the mind. It's all about the mindset. When you will change the mind, then things will really move fast. And that's what message is, and the ending message from my side also, that we need to really understand it's a planet. As you mentioned, that who is the responsible? I mean, it's a mother. And for mother, Rushdi is a child, Fazal is child, Iftikhar is child. All of us is a responsibility to take care of our mother, leave a faith aside also, that everyone has to contribute. We are doing business from morning till evening, but then only we need to be responsible and things will change.
Wonderful. Very well said and very eloquently said. So thank you. Brother Fazal, you've got the last word because you are the owner of this summit. Your wish list for Muslim lifestyle, travel, tourism, what are 5 things you would like to see happen? And it doesn't matter which stakeholder is leading, whether it's Halal Trip, Crescent Ratings, Iftikhar Hamdani. Let's put the personalities and entities to the side. 5 things.
I'm not sure whether I have 5 things, but we have my biggest let's say my biggest concern has been that we have been for the last 10 to 12 years we have been trying to educate the industry on the Muslim travel market, and we have done it for many years now. However, we have fallen short a lot of trying to educate the Muslim traveler on their responsibilities as travelers, both from them being responsible for the community, environment, and all that, but also being the ambassadors of Islam, right? So I think that is something that we have not been able to do, and I don't know whether we could still. I mean, we'll continue to try our best to try and do that, but I think that's my let's say one wish, that we Muslims, we are traveling a lot now, but we should be be ambassadors of Islam, because Islam is getting such a bad name out there. But when people see how you behave, how you take care of your environment, how you take care of the people you travel with, how you build bridges with other communities as you travel, this is so crucial, especially in the times that we are living in. I mean, that's, I think, if there was one wish list for me, that's probably the single most important one, that we become real ambassadors of our faith when we travel.
Wonderful. Thank you. So to summarize, former UN Secretary General basically said the following: there is no planet B. And I think that's the essence of what these 2 gentlemen and what this particular session is about. We don't have a planet B, we have only a planet A. And even if we did go to a planet B, we'd probably wind up ruining it anyway. So let's take care of our front yard and our backyard. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Crescent Rating, thank you for the opportunity to share with the audience at large, I think, some wonderful insights. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.